Hey, hi gang, how are you? Welcome back to the Dinosaur Omelet Homestead and Small Hatchery. I am Christopher.
I'm Angela.
My lovely wife Angela. Hi, welcome guys. So tonight we're doing another live. We like doing the lives. Maybe I'll do a good edited video shortly, but I like doing the lives because I like to encourage you guys to ask questions, yes?
Yeah.
Have some participation. So if you have any questions, put them in the comments. Real quick for any new folks, we're Southern Lancaster County in, what's the state?
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
We're a small hatchery.
Yeah. And yeah, we've been raising quails for what, 3 years or so now?
Yeah, 3.5.
Yeah, and we've focused just on the jumbo craternix quail as a food creature. All right,
Yeah.
and they're becoming much more popular. Oh, by the way, I am going to do a video shortly about food animals. Now, quail are popular today, but guess what? Back in the good old days, or not so good old days, called the Great Depression, people were raising, what were they?
Pigeons.
Pigeons. People were raising pigeons. So that was the food animal back then. And they're actually good meat birds, believe it or not. You know, you ever watch Bugs Bunny? They call them squab. Oh, bring me my squab. They're like horse and pfeffer and squab. So they call pigeon squab. It's young pigeon. They do produce a lot of meat, but they don't lay eggs. They lay eggs, well, they do, but not like proficient daily layers. They lay them in clutches, like, I guess, ducks. Like
With the intention of hatching, I guess would be that behavior pattern.
So the pigeon birds, good meat animals, and if you live in a city, a lot of cities raise them. They fly everywhere. But they don't lay eggs frequently, just in clutches. And I think they do like 2 or 3 eggs at a time, 4 or 5 times a year. So you're not getting that many eggs out of a pigeon. Anywho, flash forward to the year 2020. During the corona apocalypse thing, everybody started buying new homesteads and little mini farms.
Mm-hmm.
And
looking into animals and that they can raise themselves. And
yeah.
Most people think chickens first, but then people started to learn there's other options that might be
I have a conspiracy theory about that.
Suited.
Not really a conspiracy theory, just generally in culture. The U.S. is a very chicken-dominated poultry country, you know. When you go, it's just for practicality and profit, right? Of course, you have these large-scale farms raising chickens. So it's in the lexicon that when I'm hungry, my language says I eat poultry. Poultry means chicken. But yeah, so what we're going to be talking about today is quail. We usually do a lot of these quail videos, but sometimes we talk about other subjects. Today we'll be talking about quail as a viable poultry option, especially growing them at home. We've been doing this discussion for the last few videos, actually, just because it's winter time and people are making decisions about what to do for spring, right? And it's dark at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so idle hands and idle minds.
We like to encourage people to be more self-sufficient in however that looks for them and in their environment, their space, their time, and energy. And we're just big fans of the jumbo quail because they're efficient in many ways and with food production. So.
Good evening from, oh God, you know, we're using a phone. I got to get some kind of live chat, I guess. Good evening from Chile Central, PA. Hey, Bill.
Oh, hi.
Hey, what's up? Yeah, it's cold down here too. We have the ice popping up every morning. Yeah, we're using the phone, so we get a little close. I'm touching the common thing. Anywho, where was we? So yeah, the quail are a fantastic practical food animal, which we're going to talk about. This shouldn't be a real long video because I would like to, if you guys have questions, new people about, like, curious about these animals, type in your questions. Again, go ahead.
I was going to say, as far as the food, we kind of already mentioned, but our goal in raising them ourselves is to produce meat and eggs. So we keep them in a way that's makes them happy and they're healthy, but is efficient. The cage, the hutch cages that we have and everything, because we want to keep up our production of eggs and meat throughout the year. So yeah, they're just, anyway. Go ahead. Kind of lost my train of thought. Yeah, we
keep them trucking along all year. Now, as far as, like, we hatch them and we'll sell chicks. So as far as if you guys are doing quail business, because a lot of the quail business people, they kind of watch the other quail business people to see what's going on. We slow down in the winter. As
the
far
holiday season.
Yeah, chick sales go, I guess, like September, October. People shift into school mode and kid
Yeah.
mode. That's just, you know. And then spring rolls around, late winter, I guess, January, February. People start really getting ready for springtime again. Gardens and animals. So then there's a glut in the eggs and chicks department. People start buying them left and right. And you want to go to a good breeder. You know, first time farm people or animal people, they're very enticed to go to the big tractor stores, right? And buying the animals they have there. But, and you'll enjoy them. People buy them and they like their little animals. But if you do a little more research and educate yourself, if you're not familiar, you'll understand, you know, the differences in a breeder stock of chicken versus the hatcheries. Yes? And we did a long video about hatchery versus breeders.
And this is like across the board with any
animal.
If you have people
buying
who are,
alligators, you want to get a breeder alligator. You don't go get
if you're buying from in the poultry world, hatchery stock is known more as like a bigger operation, and their focus is in quantity. So they're hatching as many eggs out as they can to sell a large amount of chicks at a time throughout the year, or eggs. And then the quality isn't so much focused on the quality of each bird, the quality of the bloodlines and the genetics. And it's very likely you'll see strange things popping up in the form of the animals, the size, like defects. Breeder quality animals in general, if you're working with a breeder who values the animal and what they're supposed to look like, the standard of perfection for that animal, then the bird, let's say the chicken or the quail, is going to look more proportionally the way it's supposed to. The size, it's not going to be super tiny, it's going to be the proper size, it's going to be productive the way it's supposed to, how many eggs it's supposed to be producing each year, rather than some might end up a lot less, because you have to, as a breeder, you have to focus on these little details to make sure the animal stays to the parameters of what it's designed to. If you're not intentionally doing that, then it starts to look like something else.
You might not get the best critters, and then as you learn a little more, you're like, damn, we should have got the good ones at the beginning, which we did. It's a learning process. Speaking of eggs, you mentioned, these are quail eggs. I show these every week, like little show and tell. Remember show and tell? You bring in your stuffed toy? Well, I'm bringing quail eggs in the show and tell. Why are they so small? Because the birds are smaller. So 3 quail eggs is the equivalent to 1 large chicken egg. All right, well, is that good or is that bad? I guess, well, for me it's good, because we can keep a whole bunch of quails in a hutch, and they lay a ton of eggs. Each hen lays about 300 per year, right? And they're extremely delicious. They're very healthy and nutrient dense.
If you have like 18 hens in a appropriate size hutch, which would 2 foot by 4 foot hutch, you could we do 3 quail per square foot, so you could put 24 quail in a 2 by 4 foot hutch. If you have 24 females, you're going to get anywhere from like 22 eggs to 26 eggs a day. So that's going to pile quickly if you want a lot of eggs.
That's correct. A thing about the eggs. So this video is about food production, its practicality, and viability. So it's actually, if you have never raised quail before, or you're not familiar with it, or maybe you've never had animals, and you're seeing, I think, again, in our culture, American culture, food's instant, and it's kind of hard to communicate to people who haven't had experience with this, who are just used to like refrigerator lifestyle. They don't grow anything, they don't do anything, and they're thinking of getting into growing their own food, and they're introduced to these quails. Well, that's kind of intimidating and a little off-putting, because their eggs are small, and how do we think? Big is good, small is not as good. So there's this misconception, I think, or at least a, I guess, kind of a cultural prejudice against quail eggs. You kind of have this idea of it's not as good because it's big. But they're fantastic. They're flavorful, not like powerful flavor, but they have a very delicious taste. I think they're a little tastier than eggs, regular chicken eggs. And they actually produce a ton of eggs, to the point where you're not going to notice that they're small, because you have a lot of these eggs. Like 3 quail egg equals 1 chicken egg. So I think once you get into the habit, or it becomes part of your life, you don't really notice it, and you're actually quite grateful for your homegrown critter eggs. We had a chat come up here. What did they say? My 20 hens are still laying consistently with lights on them. Awesome. Drop down. Eating eggs every way you can imagine. That's great.
Yeah.
Agree. Far from
that-
not ever raising anything at all to raising quail is a huge jump. Oh, right. I mean, it is. Like, that's the thing. Me personally, I guess both of us, wife and I, philosophically, like one of our main drives here is to encourage people to do things, to just do something new and to learn. And yeah, it is a little intimidating. And that's why hopefully you meet normal, level-headed people. We try to be normal, level-headed people to encourage you and also give you information so you don't have that anxiety. You know.
But the quail are really great animals to use if you have zero experience with animals, or if you're very experienced with all sorts of animals, including like livestock, big animals, because they're not like aggressive or anything. They're very simple minded. They're not going to go after your hands. They're very, they're very respectful of you, and you can pick them up, and they might like flutter a little bit, but then they chill out.
We did a ton of
Children can interact with them, no problem.
We did a lot of videos on like the pros and cons of critters and why we like the quail.
Yeah.
But in each of these videos, I put links in the descriptions for you guys of education we did. I always recommend this quail raising checklist if you're very unfamiliar with the birds. It'll get you up to speed really quick because they're very simple animals. But was that Wayne who was saying it's a little intimidating, or?
I didn't see that.
We'll go back here. Live chat was, yeah. Wayne was saying from not ever raising anything at all to raising quail is a huge jump.
It's definitely a good, I would say, gateway animal to all the other types of animals.
Yeah, but they don't need to even be a gateway animal. You could definitely have a wonderful sustenance raising quail at home in your hutch system.
And really, if you do meat with them, then you have your meat and eggs covered, and the meat is a lean, healthy type meat.
I always take notes, so I don't want to be all over the place. Viability of raising this as a food animal. Is it practical? Is it viable? These are logic questions you're going to be asking Martha Carroll. Hey, Martha, thanks for coming in. We'd like to interact with you guys. If you have questions or anything, please drop them in. Wayne said quail are quite docile and, in my opinion, quite beautiful.
Yeah,
yes, they are.
Really are.
We have the Pharaoh wild jumbo quail. They look like
so that's the brown variety, and they are just that variety of themselves. They're very
wild color, not wild
pretty.
dispositioned.
Yes. They blend in with the environment, but there are many different kinds of colors.
Yes, so as I was saying, getting into, I want to be a little more structured with these videos so we're not all over the place. Practicality and viability. The main thing with these critters is, and we do a lot of discussions about this, the pre-planning, which is really focusing on your hutch. Okay, the hutch is the big issue with the quail, not the quail themselves, actually.
Mine eat
$1 of food a day, and I get 15, 18 eggs. Oh, damn, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, that's pretty efficient. Plus the food, your eggs are, I don't know, there's a food philosophy. If you're raising your own food, you feel more comfortable with it. And personally, I know the food out there isn't all that healthy at the grocery shops.
You know what's going into your birds. Well, I mean, if you know what's the food is that you're feeding your birds, then you know what they're eating. You can control whether they're consuming antibiotics or hormonal type things, steroids. You know that they're healthy animals. You know what's going into your eggs is like healthy, so you can be confident in eating what you're producing yourself, which is like that.
And the kids love them. If you have kids, the kids love raising these critters because they're easy to tend to. Again, back to my point, like the practicality of the animal, going back to the planning, the pre-planning, and getting your hutch ready. I absolutely agree, says Wayne. Do the eggs taste like chicken eggs? I've never had them. Yes, Martha, so I would say they taste very similar to chicken eggs. They're a little bit, I wouldn't say richer. It's like a creamier taste.
Yeah,
the taste is negligible. I enjoy them more. You have to have a palate that'll be able to, like, if you can tell a difference and you're like, oh, and you know, flavor is psychological. I think the flavor is subtly better.
If you make it like with
but it tastes like a chicken
egg, sunny side or whatever, so that it's goopy for breakfast, then it tastes just a tad more yummier than chicken eggs if you're sensitive to flavor. But when it's hard boiled and prepared like an omelet or scrambled, it tastes pretty much like chicken.
Yeah, Bill was saying he started doing this when all the eggs become very expensive.
Oh.
And he got hooked and he's still doing it. That's awesome.
Oh, good.
And good news, the eggs are going back up in price again for some reason.
Oh, yeah.
So, anyway. They're creamier because there is more yolk versus white. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Martha, like Bill just typed in the chat, they're creamier because the yolk to white ratio is a little bit higher, which will mean it'll be more nutrient dense, where the vitamins and minerals are in the yolk. Now, going back to my whole practical thing, they are practical animals because you raise them in a hutch. I think that's the big point with one of the big selling points of these animals, if you're kind of on the fence about raising an egg animal for quail, is they're relatively inexpensive to start up because you're using a hutch. You're not building a giant coop. You don't need a run. They just stay in a hutch.
And they're quiet.
You don't free range the birds. I mean, there's different ways of raising them, but they're perfectly fine living in their hutch, laying eggs, eating food, and making bird noises occasionally.
Yeah, they sound like wild birds.
Yeah. But they thrive in that environment. They're covey animals, and they will produce consistently throughout the duration of their usable life, which is for hens, 2 years?
Yeah, it'll start.
So the hens will lay consistently for 2 years.
Yeah, because the jumbo variety in particular, that's what we generally will always be speaking about. Everything about the jumbo quail is rapid growth. They're growing very fast.
God,
they have fast metabolisms. They run a little warmer than like other birds.
Week 1, they're this big. Week 2, they're like that.
And they double in size each week.
Very quick.
And so then they start laying eggs as early as 6 weeks, and then
from the day they hatch, 6 weeks later.
6 weeks old, and then they'll start getting more regular by 8 weeks if they have proper lighting and they're not stressed.
They're consistent by 8 weeks. 6 weeks, you're going to see an egg and be like, oh wow, and then they'll like stop. But yeah, by 8 weeks, they're consistent daily.
They're laying almost every day. A hen will skip a day here and there, and then during the week, and then sometimes she'll even lay twice in a day. So it's just very rapid for them, and obviously that kind of productivity is going to take a toll on their body. So their lifespan isn't as long as like chickens. But it's similar, actually. The egg laying production is very similar, I would say, to the high egg producing chickens, because people are usually replacing their egg laying chickens by 2 anyway. So
that's correct.
Yeah,
we have black Australorp chickens.
Yeah, but black Australorp chickens actually lay longer than other types of breeds.
Yeah. Where was I going with this? With the housing? Oh, here we go, Bill. I'm overrun with eggs, so I've not bought store eggs since I started raising quail.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really great. And it's a rewarding experience. It's kind of like the feather version of like a successful garden for some folks. You know, people raise a garden and you put all this effort into it and you reap the reward of it. And that's the other thing philosophically that I don't force on the people, but I subtly encourage it into their mindset, is that it's a tactile reward and an experiance. It's not just, hey, I'm getting eggs. This is an extension of yourself.
It's a skill set that you're learning. And then if you have children or family members who come over,
they go like this. They go, oh my God, what is that so cute? Because they've never seen it before.
But it's something that you can teach your kids about or family members about, and then it's like a skill, the skills for like health and growing and raising things, like that's grandparents used to pass that along generation after generation, and we've kind of lost that a little bit. So it's a really important thing. But
yes. Yeah. Anywho, in conclusion, with practicality and cage use, They're raised in hutches. We have a lot of videos about hutches, hutch construction. If you have questions, you can send them in the comment or reach to us on the Facebook. This reminds me, I need to go to the garage and make sure the poopers have enough food for the. Oh yeah, they do poop a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They are fertilizing machines too, as well. So yeah, well that's, and we discussed that in the hutch construction or your hutch selection of the videos we do on that, which is making sure you're able to clean it efficiently, so it's not a problem. You just want to reduce your workload. You don't want to have something that's a burden. You want to have something that you just go to, feed it, water it, clean it occasionally, and not worry about it.
Or clean it efficiently.
Yeah. And not have a huge worry about it. And that's where the pre-planning comes in for your hutch setup. But again, the hutches relative to a chicken coop are very inexpensive, you know.
Yeah, a single chicken.
Especially if you build them yourself.
They need a lot more space compared to
Yeah.
a single quail. But,
Now, as for eating them, we're going to talk about that. Can you eat quail? Are they tasty? Do they really make that much food? They look kind of tiny. These are, good questions. Down in the description is a how to butcher quail video. I put it in the links down there, I'm pretty sure. And it's also on this YouTube channel. How to butcher the quail. It's a very easy process, and it's a very easy thing to learn. But, some people are apprehensive about killing. It's kind of a scary thing. And who's this? Oh, man, I got to get a good piece of software. My maternal grandma started myself with gardening and laying chickens. Oh, awesome.
Good. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I had a little farmy background. We had a lot of critters. But meat birds, are they good meat birds? Yes, they are. We did a couple meat production videos. So
I like to refer to them as the mini meat chicken. If anybody's familiar with the Cornish cross, for example, those are those big white meat chickens that people like to raise for meat because they're fast growing. Usually with those birds, you need, if you're gonna grow that kind of animal, then you're gonna need the space and resources to grow them. But anyway, they are usually, people will start butchering them as early as 6 weeks, those big chickens, and go even longer, like 10 weeks. It just depends how big they want them to be. I love dove. How do quail taste in comparison?
I haven't eaten meat of dove and a coon taste. It's been a while, but I remember how dove tastes. Dove's, it's not as, I guess, rich. Like a dove has a darker kind of taste to it. So, okay, I used to refer to quail as tasting like squicken, a cross between squirrel and chicken if you've eaten a squirrel. But it's more like a mixture of the dark meat and the light meat without the fat.
Yeah,
so it's very lean, but it's kind of a flavor between the dark meat and the light meat of a chicken without fat. It's a lean meat.
Yeah. So the quail, they are, oh, hey.
Hi, Kelly. I've been meaning to call you.
If you're raising them for meat, they're similar to the meat chickens in that they are ready to be butchered by 8 weeks old. You can go 10 weeks if you want to. They'll be finished growing at 10 weeks. But it's very quick. So you, from chick to butcher ready in 8 weeks.
Bing, bing, bing. That's one of the practicality issues. You're not raising these animals forever. They're hatched to butcher in 8 weeks. Just checked on my birds, and I got 20 eggs from, I don't know, I gotta get a good piece of software.
I wonder if you touch the screen, it'll keep it from moving.
I've got 20 eggs from 20 hens today.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I have eaten squirrel, so I get it. Okay, good. See, that's what I like about the whole, self-sufficiency, farm, homestead, bunch of community people. You've done all the same crazy hillbilly stuff that we do over here. We eat squirrel, turtles, and all kinds of fun stuff. I'm in the woods all the time. So, back to the practical thing with the meat raising. Actually, down here in the links too, I put another PDF, which is raising quail for meat. It's just a general, it's a very basic mathematical illustration to show you how many birds you might want or how many birds you'll be raising for meat production. But yes, they are very efficient meat animals because they grow so rapidly. They're easy to butcher.
the way the bird looks without the feathers, once it's processed, is there's a lot of meat on the breast. It's very plump, and then there's meat on the legs.
Oh yeah, there's good meat on the
Not
legs.
so much on the wings, but if you're thinking of, well, how many quail, would I need to eat at dinner time as an adult? For me, one and maybe and a half. 1.5 is plenty for me, and having like a side, maybe like rice or whatever with a meal.
Yeah.
Maybe
That's
two for.
It depends. Like.
Yeah, they're very filling because there actually has a lot of meat on it.
I'd say a regular dude in the U.S. will eat 2 quails plenty.
Mm-hmm.
I would eat 1 to 1.5 because when I cook, I'm a good cook. I spend a lot of time cooking. So I like to cook them on top of rice or rice with greens like lettuce or some other vegetable. But you don't need a lot to serve, and you really should be mixing it with fiber as well. Mm-hmm. I'm so tempted to hatch again for meat birds, but don't want them to be... Why does this thing do this? I gotta get it better.
I think if you touch your skin.
Want them to be brooding in my house since it's so cold. Yeah. Yeah, so you'd be
well, if it's cold, so just, so in the wintertime, the jumbo quail, they are able to go outside at 4 weeks old. Like at the dead of winter.
Yeah.
Very cold. Because they're pretty much completely feathered out. They're completely covered with their feathers. The only thing is they might have a little bit of fuzz around their eyes, but they're all feathered out, and then they're also well padded already with meat by 4 weeks old. But as we were saying, quail do double in size each week. So hatching them and then having them inside for a month, not a lot of time, but if you want to have like a system, a proper system to keep them at least enough, make sure you have enough space in the brooder. I always encourage people to do a deep litter system, which is just putting shavings down as needed over soiled bedding, and then keep doing that daily and until they come out, and then you empty the brooder. Or if you have a cage that has a tray underneath it, I'm a fan of putting them in that kind of cage at least by 2 weeks old, and then the tray just makes it easier. I am hard on mine. I take them off heat 2 weeks and outside by 3 weeks. Yeah, I take, when we have them inside, I take them off heat almost about a week and a half. With the temperature of our setup, they're good to go at a week and a half. But but I don't know what your winters are like.
It's cold up
Is it really cold 3 weeks?
Utah. That's the ones where you get stuck in the mountains and you eat the other people.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, they do have padding at 3 weeks. I like to I will put them outside at 3 weeks if the temperature isn't dropping below 40 degrees at night. But once they're 4 weeks old, I put them out, and it doesn't matter the temperature.
Yeah. So and that's a consideration if you're raising them for meat, because you're going to be doing a rotational, if you're going to be eating regularly. And actually the PDF thing that I put in the links, it's structured so you can see it as a timeline, so it's not, burdening you. You want your timeline for raising your meat birds to not be like dead minute to minute thing. You want to have some kind of leeway in between. And the way we structured it and the way I wrote it in that graphic, remember when I wrote it? It'll give you a timeline that's very feasible for raising critters for meat. Central Utah isn't too bad in winter, but ain't nobody got no space for 140 goals in the house.
100 is a lot.
True.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah, it's a hell of a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so take a look if you guys are interested in that timeline at that meat PDF I put down there.
I live in South Louisiana.
And summer heat and humidity
is
brutal.
How will they? What was the?
How they'll do in the heat and humidity.
Yeah, the main thing is you want to make sure.
How will this affect quail? They're hardy in any temperature.
Yeah,
really.
You can have them in hot, like people in Arizona, or very cold, like people in Alaska. The thing that you just have to keep in mind is if it's really hot, make sure they're getting plenty of ventilation.
Yeah.
That they have free flow for circulation, and then shade, plenty of good shade. And like Christopher said, obviously, plenty of water. But then they're fine. They can handle the heat. They'll pant like birds do. They pant.
Yeah, they're definitely going to acclimate
cool.
to the temperature changes throughout the year.
And then if it's super cold, like if you're in Alaska, then obviously you want to make sure it's shielded from the elements, the wind, maybe the shelter area is a little bigger, that sort of thing.
Kelly's saying they actually do well, though. I use heat plates, so easier and faster to ward off heat. Yeah, I have a button too. Yeah, I have a button. Button. Well, I don't know what that last thing was.
A button? Is
but
it?
she uses the button Quail. I don't know, Kelly. My bird's about to plate.
You're funny. Okay.
Moving on, because I don't put.
If I
have
have
less than 50 chicks, I'll keep inside longer. More than 50, I'll give das Boot.
I
got
okay.
you.
Yeah, they do huddle together to keep warm if they need to.
Yeah, to you guys who are asking about temperatures or curious about temperatures, they're very hardy, temperature hardy animals. They do thrive in the heat and the cold. They'll acclimate. You do not need to supply with a heat supplement outside. And I always go over this. Birds are birds, and their biology is really magnificent, and they got all this plumage. You ever put on one of those big, heavy goose jackets? Keeps you warm.
It's very insulated.
It's even better on the little creature.
And
like they even do a better job.
They'll kind of fluff a little bit, and it keeps the heat circulating between the feathers and the skin.
The little fans in the back of the cage to cool them off in the summer and dry the trees. Oh, it's like, show chat, please. I put fans in the cage to cool them off in the summer and dry the trees to keep them down.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
Sounds
we're in a windy area. We get plenty of ventilation for the critters.
Mm-hmm.
Right? All right. So, yes, practicality is definitely there for raising them as meat animals. You just want to schedule it out properly. I breed for testicular fortitude. Well, you should. But you want to time out if you're doing a meat program. Eggs are going to be laying eggs consistently. So you're getting eggs every day. So once you have your covey established and you have healthy hens and they're not stressed, and again, I could go into this for a while, but we have plenty of videos on making a thriving hutch environment. But once you do have your thriving hutch environment and your covey's established, you have regular eggs, adding a meat program or even doing a second hutch for your meat is a very viable option. And the good thing about that is they're temporary.
Mm-hmm.
You're only raising them till they're meat ready, which again is 8 to 10 weeks. And of the hens or the eggs you're hatching, a portion of them are going to be hens. So you can either have more egg laying animals, and the hens grow a little bigger than the males. Mm-hmm. So you'd have bigger meat birds if you decide to send them off to the freezer, or you can always sell them. People buy them. Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, watch out for the internet scammers. We're always dealing with people who have had unfortunate incidences with horrible Facebook marketplaces and Craigslist people, right? So if you're getting new animals, do a vetting process. Make sure who you're getting them from are, decent or established.
See if there's reviews, customer
reviews. Look at the reviews, man. That actually makes a difference.
Yeah.
If it's 1 or 2, that's family. If it's 50 or 60, then they're probably cool. And if it's mostly positive, then, But do your vetting system the best you can. You just don't want to get animals or any product for somebody who is not invested into their work.
Freezer camp
counselor. That's funny. Now that would be a good T-shirt. I can see that. Freezer camp counselor. Uh-huh. A psychotic man with little critters around him. I do illustrations, people, so my mind goes to humor illustration real quick.
So, with meat anyway, Christopher mentioned that there's a PDF link that it shows the whole kind of like the cycle of how to pace yourself throughout the year. That is a T-shirt I made.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's great.
Very cool.
I've never seen
that. It's always good. You're going to want to have extra cages, space to put your birds that are growing out, specifically for meat. But yours would be so much better. So much better.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and did you have anything else you wanted to say?
No.
Which one of you is the awesome artist?
We both are, actually. Hey, people, get a load of this. You see that quacky duck up there? Kind of hard to see. Let me tilt my... Angela is a taxidermist, and she sculpted the horse.
Christopher is an illustrator. He specifically does the cartoon style.
Yeah, I do the illustration stuff for our little... whatever it is we do. So yeah, I like to do the illustration. I like to do humor illustration. I like people to be happy. I especially like kids, like little kids. So where's my kids' book? So
the Quail cartoons would be Christopher, yeah.
Yeah, so like there's the little kids' book I did for families with children. I'm gonna redo this so it's got a better cover and add a couple extra pages. But I like I wrote this for the adults too. You know, adults like to read on a very simple level. Also want one of those dumb zombie ones. Oh, I know what you mean. But yeah, so like I do like these little books for the families to read together. So it's a together activity. And I like to encourage the families subtly without saying it, like, you know, do this together and have this experience together. Because if you guys remember when you were little, if you had a positive experience, that stays with you forever. You remember that thing you did as a little 5 or 6-year-old. Oh, you had duckies and I played with whatever it was. So it's important to me. So I do this kind of stuff for the kids and the families. You're only here for a short time. Should be a happy time if possible, when possible. And if you can contribute to making it happy, do so, you know. So that's my speech. Moving on. Now, I did say in that description you can make them into little fried chickens, but that's not true. You can make them into a million different things, not just little fried chickens. And somebody mentioned doing them in shake and bake.
Yeah.
And I told her I haven't shooken and baked anything in a many a year, but yes, you can do that. They're very easy to cook. There's a variety of ways to cook quail once you process them. That's the gentle way of saying butcher. Everybody says process. So if you hear somebody say process, they mean butchering. So they don't like using that word, but that's what they're meaning, to process them for freezer and getting them ready for cooking. But yeah, there's a lot of ways to cook quail.
We're a big fan of using the pressure cooker because it cooks it really fast, cooks the meat really fast. It actually does stay whole and together, but it is very easy to pull the meat off the bones and, you know, just...
Yeah, like if I'm going to do like my quail meat version of pulled pork, I guess, like that stringy meat, that's really great.
Or you can pull pieces of meat off in chunks, so it's really nicely, you know, to eat on your plate with the rest of your food. But it just makes it real simple to remove the small bones.
It's not bony. It's not real bony. So the breast meat, falling over, it's like I'm drunk. So the breast meat, once it's cooked, it just separates from the cavity here. That's very easy to separate. There are great Korean Asian recipes for marinated, grilled, or fried. Well, I bet there is. I haven't done any Korean marinade. Actually sounds good. Oh yeah, I like to, so me personally, like when I cook, I like to do a lot of spice, vegetables, like healthy stuff, you know, and something tasty at the same time. My objective for cooking is nutrient density, you know, healthy food, nutrient density, and tasty. So, you know, it's not bland. So it's something flavorful that somebody's going to enjoy. But secretly, it's also good for them. It's providing digestible, bioavailable vitamins and minerals.
But yeah, people like to grill them or cook them in the oven. You know, however, any way you want to make them.
And pies. I haven't made a quail pot pie. I could do a quail pot pie.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so there's a million ways you can cook these things. If you guys aren't used to cooking, please just practice. It's like anything else. Cooking is a skill that some people have, some people don't. If you are a little, again, intimidated with that, just practice. You know, maybe you fail once or twice, but you keep learning. I was just watching videos for Scotch eggs. Got to try that. Oh, yeah, I saw a really cool video for like a quail fry egg. God, I wish I could remember it. It was like an omelet, but it had some special stuff with it. No, I don't know why I'm saying. I forget. But Anywho.
But also, side note about the eggs, you can obviously make eggs however you want. You can scramble, you can fry them, but they're really good boiled as well. And
Yeah, I just boiled some tonight for salads.
yeah, they're good over salad. He likes to make, put lettuce down, put rice on top, put like a bean stew or quail meat on top of that, and then put hard-boiled eggs around.
Here's some information for the new people. I think Martha, she was more new to quail. So these eggs, they don't crack like a chicken egg, where you go click, click, and just pull it open. Do you see my quail egg French toast tutorial posted? Oh, I did see that, Kelly. Kelly just asked if I saw her French toast egg. Egg. Yeah, I put the little lovey on there. Don't you get my love thumbs? Take this! It's a love thumb for you. Yeah, all that. But for Martha or anyone else, these eggs, they don't crack like a chicken egg where you clip and just pull it apart. It's got a thicker membrane. You know, that little skin. Remember when you boil eggs, you get that skin in there and it's always hard to peel off. It's the membrane. So on the quail egg, it's a little thicker. So when you crack it, it's not going to just crack open. You're going to have to bust through that membrane. So what we use is a special pair of quail scissors, which I don't have here with me.
Quail egg scissors.
Quail egg scissors, which snips off.
It's kind of looks like
the fat top of this egg,
cutter, but on scissors.
There. See the fat top of the egg? So it snips the fat top of the egg off, and you just pour it out. Oh, is that the funny girl that showed the French toast? That was good. Oh yes, yes, that's Kelly. She's famous. She's my friend. Yeah, so these eggs, they don't crack as easy, but on the plus side, they peel so much easier than regular eggs. The membrane, because it's thick, will just come off in kind of like a strip or a single piece.
Yeah.
And so they're actually, if I'm making deviled eggs, I'd rather make, even though they're so tiny, I'd rather make miniature tiny deviled quail eggs than chicken eggs because they're so much easier to peel. Mm-hmm. True story.
Which he's done that.
Yeah, and they're fine. Like, they're tiny. People are like, oh my God, it must have been so much work, but no, it's really not that much. So, there's a lot of blabbing. Anything else important I'm missing? What did I write in my description of this here video? Yeah, we talked about meat. Again, I encourage you guys to check out the PDFs in the bottom for meat and stuff. You're the only, what does it say? I can never read. I gotta get my software up. I'm reading the chat, people, so if you're wondering what I'm doing here. You're the only other one I've heard compare quail egg membrane to the hard-boiled chicken egg, but that's exactly how I explain it to everyone. Great minds think alike, ma'am. Yeah. Also, I was told by someone, American, maybe Scottish, that you can flick the top off versus cutting it. Can't get it to work. I think they mean with a samurai sword. I don't know how you're going to flick the top of it. I'll try it, but I don't know. I'm going to give me his phone number so I can complain after I splatter my egg everywhere. Yeah, so I do encourage you guys, check out the free material down in the bottom. It's educational stuff. It's very easy to read. My goal with writing any of our educational stuff is simplicity. Like, nobody wants to read a book. Okay? I'm going to do a video on how
I'm going to do a video. Oh.
F that up. Yeah, nobody likes to read a book. They want to be right on to the point with learning. So I try to cater to that. So if you're wondering about meat, setting up meat cages, or any of the other stuff, we do have a bunch of stuff I write.
I forgot my scissors when I went camping for a week, so I had to use a steak knife. Yeah, and I mean the steak knife thing, it does work, but once you're spoiled using the quail scissors, it's a big difference.
Once you're down to the level of using potato peeler, that's when things went bad.
Oh my gosh.
Well, it cuts.
Yeah, it does. Mm-hmm.
All right, you guys. Was that about summing it up?
Yeah, I think so. We talked.
Anything else fun to discuss? I guess not. It's getting into the late time of the year. I just discovered you today, so I'll be stalking you on social media. Well, finally. I always tell people I'm stalking them. I appreciate this.
But also feel free to message and ask us additional questions, because, we're
everybody does that. They're always stalking each other, but they never actually say, hey, by the way, I'm checking you out behind your back. No, I like that. Yeah, stop in.
We do have a lot of
send a question.
Past live videos on our Facebook page.
We just started this, 6 months ago?
YouTube is newer for us. So, yeah.
You guys are great. Thank you for your time. I love to stalk you. Thanks, Kelly. I meant to call you after I got your messages. I was so tired. But yeah, we really appreciate you guys stopping in. If you have questions, like I said, send me a message or put them down here in the video or however you wish to communicate. We're regular humans. And what's good about the homestead people and the little farm people is you guys are regular humans too.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
Yeah.
Does that about do it?
Yeah, I think so.
Time to fight about Netflix on a weekly
I'm actually allowed three chickens in my subdivision, but that's not gonna cut it. Yeah, and that is a good point about the quail. A lot of areas don't regulate the quail, and they don't crow like chicken roosters, so they can go under the radar.
Yeah.
Didn't get that. They can go under the radar, and if anyone hears them, they won't really know what they are. They seem like wild birds. Thanks for your videos, fellow PA quail fanatics.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, thank you for stopping in, and thanks for all the comments.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Like I said, we're a small little thing, and our goal is to help you other people and achieve some things and achieve some goals, and do things that are rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, thanks, Martha. Appreciate it. It was very nice meeting you, Christopher.
Angela,
wife, Southern Pennsylvania, and that's a little sign. All right, you guys.
All right.
I'm going to go do my regular cleaning.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks. And